Chapter 182. In the arena, one would be disappointed while the other would be excited. He Lingling and Yan Jika respectively interpreted these two roles, showing the sadness and happiness of life. After venting most of her emotions, Yan Jika turned around and walked to the supervisor. Then she realized that her muscles were tight and her legs were weak. She had consumed more energy than in the last match. If I hadn't been able to take down He Lingling with that wave of attacks, I would have most likely been the one to lose. She thought to herself with some relief and lingering fear. She stood by the side of the field with trembling legs, waiting for the competition supervisor to fill in the final confirmation form and stamp it. The waiting process allowed her to recover some of her strength. She was able to steadily walk to the higher level of the stands and meet up with Lu Cheng. "Are you happy and excited?" Lu Cheng held the girl and handed her an unscrewed energy drink with a smile. "Yes." Yan Jika nodded hard and took the drink. She gulped it down with sweat on her forehead. Lu Cheng lowered his voice and said half jokingly and half expectantly, "Are you so excited that you want to kiss me as a celebration? I don't mind being a prop." Puff. Yan Jika spat out the drink in her mouth onto half of Lu Cheng's face. She rolled her eyes at Lu Cheng, feeling both annoyed and amused at the same time. She said clearly, "You big, bad, wolf." Lu Cheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He took the tissue he prepared for his girlfriend and wiped his face clean first. "It's fine if you don't want to kiss me. Why did you spray my face? Humph, do you want to choke me?" Yan Jika saw her boyfriend take out a new tissue and carefully wipe the sweat on her forehead and face. She closed her eyes and enjoyed the delicate gentleness. Lu Cheng laughed and said, "Then you'd better spray my face." After drying the sweat and resting for a few minutes, they came to the office of the Martial Arts Association next to the number 1 hall and handed the form to the staff. The staff found the video of the match, checked the result, and put it into the computer. Then they stamped the form and asked Yan Jika to take photos and get a certificate next door. After some work, Yan Jika got a certificate of amateur second pin with a unique serial number. Her rank could be found on the official website of the Martial Arts Association according to her name and serial number. She was a real amateur second pin martial artist. Lu Cheng felt like he had gotten the certificate himself. He looked at it fondly and praised, "Ku, your certificate photo is so beautiful. It's the first time I've seen someone take such a beautiful certificate photo. Well, it's hard to give up on one's natural beauty. You look good in any photo." Yan Jika glared at him. "Cheng, there's one thing I couldn't understand when I read novels. Now I finally understand why they use that word to describe boys." "What's that?" Lu Cheng asked curiously. Yan Jika pretended to gnash his teeth and said, "What a glib tongue." Lu Cheng was a little embarrassed because he had misunderstood. But there was no need to talk about that kind of topic in public. He smiled and said, "This is a sincere compliment from the bottom of my heart. Look at my eyes, they are so sincere and magnanimous." Yan Jika held back her laughter and tugged at him. All right, I believe you. Don't show off your exaggerated acting skills in front of others. Where are we going now?" Lu Cheng knew when to stop and changed the topic. Yan Jika took out her cell phone from the pocket of her jacket and looked at the time. "Ching should be done soon. Let's wait for her." "Okay." Lu Cheng felt relieved after his girlfriend had successfully reached the level of amateur second pin. He finally had the mood to cheer for the other teammates. Gua Qing was quite talented. Her strength was a little stronger than the boys of the same level, and she had a good foundation. Therefore, after practicing the mountain-moving fist, which was a suitable fighting style for her, her progress was very obvious. Among the teams competing for the amateur fourth pin, she could almost be considered as one of the strongest few. She defeated her opponents easily and won the competition with a perfect record. Now she only had to wait for the final battle in the evening. Sister Wen's match is at 4:30. Let's go back to the hotel and have a good rest. I'm exhausted. Gua Qing said casually after meeting up with Lu Cheng and Yan Jika. No matter how strong her body was and how much she suppressed her opponent, she was exhausted after fighting 5 matches in 2 days. She only wanted to recover as much as possible. The most important match in the evening. However, this arrangement was fair because her opponent had also fought 5 matches in the group stage. Yenjika had been focused on her own ranking and didn't pay attention to other matches. She only knew that Sun Jian had been eliminated. She asked curiously, "Do you think Sister Wan and the others have a good chance?" In the match in the morning, they all seemed to have met strong opponents and lost the match. "Yes, Ku. Don't you know? There are fewer amateur 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th pin fighters, so there are more places. The top 2 in each group can win." Guoqing answered. This was the Martial Arts Association's way of encouraging the lower-level fighters to give more fans the confidence and motivation to pursue the higher amateur ranks. For example, in this year's amateur 4th pin competition, there were 296 participants, and 50 places were given. They were divided into 50 groups, and the top 2 in each group would win. The winner would get the ranking. The ratio was close to 17%. Compared to this, the probability of amateur second pin was less than 10%. Li Xiaowen, Wu Meng and Jiang Fuxing were not talented, but they were hardworking. They insisted on participating in the martial arts training every day, which made them better than most of the fighters who signed up for this competition. Besides, the 24 Blizzard Strikes was not an ordinary fighting style. As long as they were not too unlucky, they could get the certificate of amateur 4th pin after 2 or 3 tries. However, if they wanted to go higher, they would have to participate in martial arts club disciples and martial arts school students, which made it much more difficult. "I see." Yenjika's eyebrows relaxed. She was sincerely happy for her senior brothers and sisters. If she was happy, she would want others to be happy too. Li Mao and Lin Hua finished the competition earlier than Yenjika. They were lucky enough to win all the matches in their groups. Back in the hotel, Lu Qing saw Guoqing go back to her room. He took out the room card and said to Yenjika as usual while opening the door, "Ku, go take a shower and get a massage. You can recover early in case there are any hidden injuries." As soon as he finished speaking, a few ideas popped into his mind. Later on, it would be a man and a woman alone in a hotel room with 2 beds. This time, Ku had already won the ranking, so there was no more competition. Thump, thump, thump. He didn't know why his heart suddenly beat faster. He felt his lips were a little dry, as if he was expecting and longing for something. Yenjika's body started to tremble in his slightly heavy breathing. She lowered her head and looked at the carpet beside her. She said in a low voice, "Cheng, Cheng, why don't you come to our room?" "What?" Lu Qing was stunned at first, but then he understood what she meant. She wanted to have a massage with Guoqing, so they wouldn't be alone anymore. A wave of disappointment hit him. He turned to look at Yenjika, only to see the girl sneaking a glance at him and then quickly lowering her eyes like a dodging deer. She was a little shy and a little inexplicably scared. "So cute. I'm not ready yet." A thought flashed through Lu Cheng's mind. He exhaled and smiled. "Okay, send me a message after you take a shower." Yenjika's dimples blossomed little by little. She looked at Lu Qing with sparkling eyes and said in a low voice, "Qing, what?" Lu Qing asked blankly. The girl smiled and didn't answer. She turned around gracefully, waved her hand, and walked into her room with light steps. When the door was closed, Lu Cheng's phone beeped with a message. He picked it up and saw Yenjika's blushing smile. "You're so nice. Cheng, you're so nice." Lu Qing connected the 2 sentences together. His disappointment disappeared and his smile reappeared. He was happy and satisfied. Back in his room, he turned on the tap and washed his face with cold water to relieve the throbbing in his head and his tiredness. Thunder Roar Zen on massage would also consume a lot of energy, but he still used the normal massage to recover. After such a long time of physical therapy, he had already reached his limit. Looking at his high-spirited but tired face in the mirror, Lu Qing took a deep breath and made a self-examination. His attitude just now was not right. Maybe it was the influence of the intimacy and stimulation in the past 2 days. After Ko refused to be alone with him, he was so disappointed that it almost showed on his face. Boys have this kind of desire. They always want to go further and be more intimate with the girl they love. There's nothing wrong with that. But they can't show that they only want to do this kind of thing. More importantly, they should respect the girl's idea. Ko was a conservative girl and it was her first love. They had been dating for only a month at most. At the beginning, because of the sudden confession, she needed to adjust her mood and accept it gradually. It was normal for her to be afraid of this kind of intimacy and want to adapt to it bit by bit. Now that they kissed passionately, it was because of his good performance that she was so kind to him. After silently repeating the word respect many times, Lu Qing received a message from Yan Jika that he could go now. Thanks to the existence of Guoqing, Lu Cheng's heart was still beating wildly when he massaged the muscles and bruises. But at least he was able to control himself and didn't need to go to the bathroom to calm down. Yan Jika looked at him with a faint smile and said with concern, "Don't use the tremor force this time. Anyway, Coach sure told us to focus on recovery tomorrow. No need to relieve the tiredness at a deep level." Lu Qing couldn't use it even if he wanted to. He immediately agreed and continued his previous work. His eyes were focused and his hands were skillful. "Are you two trying to irritate me, a single dog, to death?" Guoqing looked for a while and suddenly pressed the pillow to her face. She whined, "I can only wait for Sister Wen to come back so that we can have physical therapy." Yan Jika snickered, "Then you should find a boyfriend soon." "But old Xiao doesn't like me," Guoqing answered sullenly. Yan Jika knew that she said something wrong and quickly said, "How about I give you a massage later? Sister Wen will be late when she comes back." "You're not with Cheng?" Guoqing took away the pillow and asked in confusion. Yan Jika hummed, "We don't have to stick together all the time. Cheng, I just want to borrow your girlfriend for 10 minutes. Guoqing put her hands together and begged pitifully. She also wanted to have a massage early to recover early so that she could face the final battle in a better state. Lu Qing smiled and said, "It's a special situation. I'll reluctantly agree." When it was almost 4 o'clock, the massage was over. Yan Jika looked at Lu Qing eagerly and whispered in his ear, "I'll come to you after I give Qing a massage." "Okay." Lu Qing smiled sincerely. Back in his room, he washed his face with cold water so that he wouldn't fall asleep due to tiredness and couldn't get up to open the door for the girl. After browsing the forum and Weibo for less than 20 minutes, he heard the expected knock on the door. When he opened the door, he was stunned as if there was a flash of light in front of his eyes. Yan Jika had changed her clothes. She was wearing a white cotton skirt, a pink jacket, a pair of cute canvas shoes and a pair of skin-tight stockings, which made her legs look long, straight and hazy. Her black hair hung down like satin, and her black and thin eyebrows set off her bright eyes. Her cute nose was straight and delicate, and her pink lips were moist and attractive. Looking at Lu Cheng's stunned and slightly dazed eyes, Yan Jika looked at herself up and down nervously. "It's a little weird to wear socks like this. I wanted to wear boat socks, but isn't it a little cold? And there are some bruises on my legs that haven't faded yet." While talking, she found the burning gaze in Lu Cheng's eyes and suddenly understood. She looked to the side shyly and hummed in a low voice, "Big pervert." Lu Cheng's face turned red, and he looked away with difficulty. He coughed and was about to shamelessly say a few words of praise when Yan Jika looked at her toes. Her eyes flashed and her face was slightly red. She pretended to be relaxed and said, "Can I ask you out on a date?" She had already planned to take the initiative to propose a date to show her feelings for him in the past 2 days. "Date? Where are we going?" Lu Qing asked in surprise. Yan Jika held Xiao Xiao in her arms and said proudly, "The ocean aquarium, of course. Didn't you miss it so much?" "Pfft, when did I miss it so much?" Lu Cheng's brain started to work. "It's not even 4:40 if we go there now. The tickets will stop at 5:30 and the aquarium will close at 6. More than an hour is enough for us to walk around. Let's go. Yenjika was about to turn around when she saw the tiredness in Lu Cheng's eyes. She immediately felt sorry for him. Cheng, you look very tired. I'm okay. Lu Cheng said with difficulty. Yenjika thought for a while and said with a faint smile, why don't you take a rest before we go? Just make it before 5 o'clock. Speaking of this, she chuckled. My little massage expert will also help you massage your temples. Lu Cheng checked his condition. He was afraid that he would not remember anything about marine life later. He could only smile and say, okay then. He turned sideways to let her into the house. Yenjika had just taken a step when she saw the familiar environment. Thinking of the previous massage, her heart suddenly beat faster. A man and a woman alone again. There's no match tonight. Will Cheng lose control? If he can't control himself and does something bad to me, what should I do? To what extent should I tolerate him? To what extent? Yenjika only felt that her face was a little hot and her heart was beating a little faster. Her steps were a little difficult, but she still walked into the room in a daze. She did not dare to look at Lu Cheng and pointed to the bed by the window. Lie down. Lu Cheng raised his head with a pillow and tried his best to lie inwards, leaving space for the girl to massage his temples. Yenjika pressed her skirt and sat on one knee, leaving only her feet in canvas shoes outside. Then she bent down and stretched out her hands, one on the original side and the other on the top of Lu Cheng's head. At the same time, she rubbed his temples on both sides. The swelling pain in his temples was relieved, and the sweet fragrance of the girl entered his nose. Lu Cheng relaxed his mind and the tiredness that he had been trying so hard to suppress gushed out like a tide. He fell into a deep sleep before he had time to enjoy the gentleness of the girl. Well, only 15 minutes of sleep. Yenjika's heart was still beating fast. She could not help but think of the scene where Lu Cheng pulled her down and kissed her. Should I struggle, or should I not resist? When similar thoughts flashed through her mind, she suddenly heard Lu Cheng's breathing become long and rhythmic. She looked carefully and found that her boyfriend had fallen asleep in just a few seconds. Is he so tired? Yenjika was quite surprised and distressed. As a girl from a martial arts family, she knew how much the tremor force consumed physical and mental strength. But she always had the impression that Lu Cheng's physical strength was limitless. So even when she saw her boyfriend's sleepy face, she subconsciously thought that it was just so, and that he was still far from being really tired. But now, when Lu Cheng's tiredness and fatigue were exposed in front of her eyes, she suddenly realized that her boyfriend also had a limit. He was also a human being who would be tired. Cousin's tremor punch can only hit 4 times. He used the tremor force and the normal hand to massage me for more than an hour. He doesn't really have limitless physical strength. I am his limit. Yenjika's eyes were slightly red. She gently bit her lips and unconsciously smiled. She reached out to touch Lu Cheng's eyebrows. This fool, he can't even sleep well and still frowns. Is he still worried about something in his dream? Is he worried that he overslept and can't catch up with the date at the aquarium? The girl was lost in thought. When she saw Lu Cheng's eyebrows relax because of her unconscious action, she suddenly raised the corner of her mouth and outlined a naughty smile. Her slender white fingers moved like playing a musical note, smoothing Lu Cheng's eyebrows little by little. When she saw that he was sleeping peacefully and without the maturity when he woke up, she nodded with satisfaction. She let her fingers slide down and gently outlined the lines of his face. After a while, her smile became more and more obvious. Her fingers danced and lively, writing a word on each side of Lu Cheng's cheeks. Idiot. 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 Silently repeating it several times, Yenjika smiled like a little fox who had stolen a hen. Her fingers continued to slide down, rubbing her boyfriend's newly grown beard stubble and brushing his lips. This is the bad guy who always bullies me. The girl stared at his lips and suddenly felt dizzy. She suddenly thought of Lu Cheng's usual sucking and licking of her lips. She thought of his hungry expression as if he was tasting the most delicious food in the world. She thought of his busy figure in the morning and his tired expression when he went out in the morning. Yenjika's eyes unconsciously became tipsy. Looking at the sleeping Lu Cheng, her pink lips slightly opened to make a silent declaration. Sleeping Beauty, I'm your prince. She played with her hair and lowered her head little by little. Her heart was beating fast and her pretty face was turning red inch by inch. Slowly, the girl's pink lips fell on Lu Cheng's mouth. She imitated him and carefully began to rub. After doing all this, she suddenly raised her head and touched her lips. She was a little confused and a little surprised and thought, why is his mouth so sweet? Looking down, Yenjika saw that Lu Cheng's mouth was full of the luster of her lip balm. No wonder the taste is so familiar, she laughed in a low voice. Her eyes were blurred and charming. At this time, the clouds moved and the sun came out. The light shone in through the window and sprinkled on the young boy who was sleeping soundly and the shy girl who was looking at him. It was bright, quiet, and warm. When Lu Cheng woke up, it was already dark outside. Yenjika was sitting at the table with the lamp lit. Bathing in the warm orange light, she was concentrating on the textbooks that she had forgotten to put back in the bag. Her back was slender and graceful. What time is it? Lu Cheng asked blankly. He picked up the phone beside him. His head was still a little swollen and empty. Hearing this, Yenjika turned around. But just as she glanced at him, she suddenly turned back and said with a red face, "It's 6:10, 6:10. Lu Cheng's phone showed the same time. There were 2 missed calls from Sun Jian. After more than 10 seconds, he suddenly woke up and blamed himself. I overslept. The girl he loved took the initiative to invite him on a date and he overslept. Yenjika turned her face and bit her lip. She said with a clear and happy smile, I didn't wake you up on purpose. I thought you were too tired. There will be a lot of chances in the future. Listening to her brisk tone, Lu Cheng was amused and his mood improved. That's right. There will be a lot of chances. He got out of bed and put on his shoes. He planned to wash his face and completely wake up before returning senior brother Sun Jian's call. Yenjika secretly glanced at his lips. When he brushed past her, she hurriedly turned back and looked at the textbook seriously. Maybe it's time to check out. Their rooms were not due until tomorrow. But later, they would go to the martial arts arena for dinner and cheer for their teammates. After that, they would go back to the old campus together. Lu Cheng had just walked out of the bathroom. Before he could say anything, he heard a knock on the door, followed by Sun Jian's shout, Cheng, are you there? Yes, yes, yes. Lu Cheng hurriedly answered and turned the doorknob. Behind him, Yenjika had just packed up her textbooks and other things. She blushed and blurted out, her don't came to an abrupt end. Lu Cheng had opened the door and looked at her in confusion. Sun Jian stood outside the door and said with a smile, Cheng, are you asleep? You didn't answer my call. It's time to check out. Go directly to the martial arts arena to cheer for them. Okay. Lu Cheng turned around and smiled. At this time, Sun Jian's eyes focused and he was stunned for a moment. Then he revealed a teasing smile and said, Cheng, yes? Lu Cheng responded. Sun Jian patted him on the shoulder and said in a heavy tone, remember to wipe your mouth after eating. What? Lu Cheng was at a loss. Sun Jian raised his eyebrows and showed an, I know, expression. He didn't ask more. Humming a pop song, he walked to the elevator. Guoqin just said that Yenjika wasn't in her room, what's going on? Lu Cheng was confused and turned to the bathroom. Yenjika held her textbooks and lowered her head, showing her dimples. She said quickly, I'll go back to my room to tidy up. She ran past Lu Cheng and out of the room. Strange. Lu Cheng shook his head and walked into the bathroom. He subconsciously looked at himself in the mirror. When he saw it, he was stunned. His lips were full of the familiar color of lipstick. How could this be? He came to his senses and took out his phone, feeling both annoyed and amused. He sent a message to Yenjika with a shocked emoji. You female rogue. After sending the message, his face was full of smiles. He carefully tasted the remaining girl's taste on his lips again and cleaned it up. Peach-flavored, Yenjika quickly replied with a pitiful emoji. It's not my fault. It's all your fault, you big pervert. You want to play dirty even when you're asleep. I was rubbing for you, then you pressed me down and kissed me in a daze. Really? Lu Qing replied with an emoji with a question mark on its head. I can instinctively kiss Yenjika when I'm asleep. This is really a skill. Yenjika replied with a righteous face, it's fake. Humph, if I didn't almost wake you up with a paper wipe, I wouldn't have left any evidence. Pfft. Lu Qing burst into laughter. He realized that he was really kissed by the girl when he was asleep. He only regretted that he didn't wake up at that time to feel the beauty and seize the opportunity to kiss her back. In the competition at night, Jiang Fuxing met a good opponent and failed in the final test. Guo Qin, Li Xiaowen, and Wu Mengshan passed smoothly and got the certificate of amateur fourth pin. Li Mao was lucky. His opponent in the last test was injured in the previous competition, so he seized the opportunity and defeated him. Therefore, he also became an amateur second pin fighter. Lin Hua, who was usually quiet, passed 6 tests in a row and was determined to be an amateur third pin fighter, which made her boyfriend Sun Jian envious. The next morning, Lu Qing continued to visualize the frozen ground map, memorizing the subtle changes of muscles, fascias, and viscera bit by bit. This was a painstaking effort, so he was not in a hurry. When the martial arts special training began, Geyser clapped his hands and said, "You all did well in this ranking event. You didn't disgrace me. Today we'll do recovery training." Speaking of this, he glanced at Lu Qing, Lin Ke, Yenjika, and the others and laughed. By the way, Azure Dragon Squad applied for a special competition format. What? Lu Qing and the others were a little confused. Chapter 183. Because they had never encountered a special competition before, although Lu Qing and the others were aware of the existence of such a thing and knew what the situation was, they couldn't react for a while. After a full 10 seconds, they came back to themselves one after another and blurted out, "Special competition format? What kind of formation does Azure Dragon Squad have? Aren't they a combination of several martial arts clubs? Why didn't they apply for it during the competition with Fearless Squad?" Facing the questions of Sun Jian, Li Mao, and the others, Geyser answered casually, "According to the information from the organizing committee, Azure Dragon Squad doesn't have a formation." What? Without a formation, why did they apply for a special competition format? Guo Qin opened her eyes wide. Geyser chuckled, "Maybe they want to bully us because our substitutes are weaker." Of course, he wouldn't say that the main reason the opponent was worried was that the 2 main players at the professional level were too strong. They were also worried that Lu Cheng's stamina was so abnormal that they couldn't see the limit of it. Li Mao and the others suddenly became silent. They vaguely understood Azure Dragon Squad's plan. They were frightened by Lu Cheng's tremor punch and stamina. They knew that they had no chance of winning in a normal match, so they decided to use the special competition format. They wanted to send 2 professional 9th pin fighters to deal with Lu Cheng and Lin Ke, and the last one to fight the amateurs. There was such a trick. Sun Jian frowned and said, "Isn't this an insult? Even a professional 9th pin fighter doesn't have 3 heads and 6 arms. How can he have the confidence to deal with 4 amateur fighters? If everyone punched at the opponent's vital points at the same time, even a professional 9th pin fighter would be flustered. Haven't you heard that ants can bite an elephant to death?" Although Sun Jian was the main fighter in name, he consciously put himself in the ranks of the substitutes. The others also didn't feel anything wrong. In their eyes, the real main fighters of the martial arts club were only Lin Ke and Lu Cheng. Do you think others are wooden blocks that will just stand there and let you besiege them? Geyser sneered. Yenjika habitually raised her hand and said, "But the challenge tournament is different from real combat. The space is limited. It's hard to create a temporary one-on-one or one-on-two situation with physical strength. She once saw a video of a professional fighter being chased by 7 or 8 amateur fighters. The former seemed to be running away crazily, but in fact, he was paying attention to the situation behind him. The fighters behind him didn't give up because they had more people. As time went by, they were divided into several small groups because of physical strength and speed. The distance between them was widened to an extent that they couldn't ignore. As a result, the professional ninth pin fighter fought back. He suddenly paused and pounced backward. Before the second small group could catch up with him, he used all his strength to kill one of the 2 enemies in the front and cripple the other. After this process was repeated, the thugs no longer dared to blindly chase after him. They always maintained a good distance. However, in this way, they had no choice but to use the slowest speed as the standard. They could only watch the enemy leisurely walk away. This was the actual combat strategy of a professional ninth pin fighter when he was besieged. But it was almost impossible to use it in the challenge tournament. Yan Jika's question was also Lu Cheng's idea. Although he was now a top professional ninth pin fighter, if he was besieged by more than 3 strong amateur fighters, he could only choose to run and fight. He didn't have the field control skills like the ninth pin of the dark sect. He could use the advantage of his physical strength to create short one-on-one opportunities. In the challenge tournament, he might reach the edge after running for more than 10 steps. Geyser laughed and said, "The specific situation needs to be analyzed. First, some martial arts are better at dealing with besieges, such as Golden Bell Shield and Lion's Roar. Second, there is more than one battlefield in the challenge tournament. The opponent can use the other 2 places as obstacles to create distance. When Lin Ke and Lu Cheng are fighting with the professional ninth pin fighter, will you be more cautious when approaching? Will you be worried about being hurt? The opponent is a professional ninth pin fighter, so he will have fewer concerns in this respect. With the difference, he will have the opportunity to take advantage of the temporary chaos. And if you are slower, he will have the time and ability to besiege Lu Cheng or Lin Ke. So, although they may not be able to gain the upper hand, at least they have the possibility of winning." After listening to the coach's general explanation, Lu Cheng and the others thoroughly understood the thoughts of the Azure Dragon squad. They knew that they were not whimsical, but intended to rely on the advantage of average strength to seek victory in the chaos. Understanding was one thing, but Li Mao and Lin Hua were still a little indignant. They felt that they were despised and looked down upon. Even Yan Jika, who was always good-tempered, slightly pouted her mouth. "I don't know if I can master the Frost Force by Sunday." Lu Cheng looked at his girlfriend and thought to himself. This was not an impossible task. As long as he could memorize and master the subtle changes in his body when he visualized the frozen ground map before Friday, it would not be too difficult for him to master the frozen river map that he had been comprehending every day for the remaining 2 days. While thinking, he could not help but look at Lin Quebec. He wanted to know what level his brother-in-law was at after he recovered from his injury. Compared to the past, Lin Ke's vigorous qi and blood had weakened a lot. There was a sense of peace in his silence and coldness. Obviously, he had touched the threshold of the Dan stage. But it was hard to say how much he had gained. At this time, Geyser clapped his hands and said, "Those who participated in the ranking event should do recovery training. The rest of you should do the same. We'll go back and discuss the Azure Dragon squad later. The information has been sent to your mailbox. Don't look for videos with special competition rules. It's useless. Look for videos of amateur fighters besieging professional ninth pin fighters. It's better to look for those with obstacles. Summarize the experience and lessons." This morning, after Lu Cheng completed the fixed daily training, he spent more time on memorizing and mastering the corresponding changes in his body. He felt that he had made a lot of progress. After a sweet and busy day, he went back to the dormitory. After washing up, he turned on the computer and logged in to QQ. He sent a message to Yenjika, "Ku, have you finished reading the information?" As their relationship grew deeper day by day, they became more intimate. He called Yen Jika more and more in a variety of ways. But as the first nickname, Coach Yen had a special meaning. As for the information about the Azure Dragon Squad, he finished reading it in the afternoon class. But Yen Jika was in a professional class, so she had to listen carefully. She could only take a look at it. The girl immediately replied to the cat that threw the salted fish in her hand, "Call me Coach Yen." "Yes, yes, yes." "Have you finished reading the information, Coach Yen?" Lu Qing snickered. Yen Jika only had 2 short classes in the evening. She went back to the dormitory with Zhong Yenru at around 8:00 to study the information and videos seriously. Unlike the usual self-study, she waited for Lu Qing to finish class and took a walk. This showed that she attached great importance to the weekend competition. After all, no matter what the arrangement was, she would be able to play. "Finished reading?" Yen Jika replied with a blank expression. "It's just like what Coach Sure said." Mo Zizong's ancestor was a disciple of Daxing Temple. He passed down a martial art similar to Lion's Roar. Zhu Tao has been practicing iron shirt since he was young. His hard body skills are quite famous in Songqing. They were all professional 9th pin fighters who were good at dealing with sieges. "Don't worry. When the time comes, your brother and I will hold Mo Zizong and Zhu Tao back. During the competition, they can't do whatever they want." Lu Qing replied. Among the 4 fighters in the Azure Dragon Squad, Mo Zizong was the strongest. Not only was he born with great strength, but he also practiced throwing elephant skill. Without Thunder Roar Zen, Lu Qing felt that he could only beat him 4 to 6 times. As for the other 3, Zhu Tao had the Iron Mantle hard kung fu, and his punches and kicks were straightforward, which made him difficult to deal with. Deng Hua was famous for his tiger roaring iron fist. As for Su Zheng, he was relatively weak, but his foundation in 8 trigrams palm was very solid. Yen Jika replied with an emoji of bright eyes. "Humph, when was I worried? I have already summarized several experiences of sieges." Lu Qing replied with an emoji of a naughty smile. "Coach Yen, please give me some advice. Beg me, and I will tell you." Yen Jika replied with a smiley emoji of covering mouth. Men and women didn't care much about face when they were flirting. Lu Qing immediately begged with an emoji of prostrating himself on the ground. Yen Jika replied with a thoughtful emoji of crossing her hands under her chin. "First, always keep a good distance from each other. Second, don't attack at the same time. It's best to have a gap of 1 second, in case the opponent throws out all his martial arts. Third, don't rush. As long as you and my brother have enough time, you can definitely defeat your opponents. They should be the ones who are anxious." Lu Qing praised Coach Yen as he read, and then helped her to perfect the details through discussion and analysis. At this time, there was a new post in his fan forum from Lush Natural Generating Light, Sunday afternoon at 3:30 p.m. Songqing TV station will broadcast the key battle of the 3rd group, Songqing University Martial Arts Club vs Azure Dragon Squad, special competition format. And in the campus forum of Songqing University, the administrator also put a message at the top of each subsection. Sunday afternoon at 3:30 p.m., Martial Arts Club will fight Azure Dragon Squad at home, key battle of the qualifying round. This time, the TV station and the school's publicity department finally started to promote. In the blink of an eye, under the eager anticipation of Yen Shaoling and the others, it was the afternoon of the weekend. A few hundred kilometers away, in the office of Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, Su Wanyan saw junior brother Peng, who was always in a daze, sitting there and looking at the computer leisurely. "Junior brother Peng, you didn't go out to play?" he asked in surprise. Peng Lian smiled and said, "I was watching a preliminaries." "What's there to watch?" "We are going to Huahai for the national finals next week." Su Wanyan was puzzled. At this critical time, as the pillar of the martial arts club, how could junior brother Peng have the leisure to watch a preliminaries? Peng Lian laughed in a low voice. This could be one of the tough ones in the next round. The taste of the starry sky was unforgettable, so he had always been paying attention to it. Thinking about it, he fell into his daily daze. Chapter 184. In the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, the screen switched to the stands on both sides of the Songqing University Martial Arts Stadium. There were already a sea of people there, most of them young and energetic men and women. So popular. The commentator and host Fang Juexiao couldn't help but sigh. Listen to the shouts, listen to the movements. How is this a low-level preliminaries? If you say it's the North-South regional competition, I'm afraid the audience in front of the TV will believe it. His partner, the guest of the competition, the 38-year-old Dan Stage Mighty One Ganlu, laughed. I've always heard that Songqing University's martial arts atmosphere is average. Today, I see that it's very good. Except for the number of seats, it's not much worse than our home ground. He was a member of Songqing's Forever Club. He was the main substitute for the North-South regional competition, which was also the preparatory competition. He was of professional 7th pin. Because of his easygoing personality and naturally smiling face, he was quite popular in the province and was often invited by the TV station as a guest. Fang Juexiao flipped through the information in his hand and said while looking forward, "Old Gan, actually the rumors you heard are not wrong. It's just that he's a little old." Songqing University Martial Arts Club has been defeated repeatedly in the regional competition of the National University Martial Arts competitions in the past few years. They've been eliminated again and again, and their popularity is getting lower and lower. They're lucky if they can get a few hundred students to watch an official competition. Last year, when Lin K joined the school, they spent a lot of effort to promote the competition. But in the end. Speaking of this, he lightly patted the table like a storyteller, shook his head and said, in the end, they still couldn't break through the group competition. At that time, I thought, it's over. Songqing University needs at least 3 years to restore its martial arts atmosphere. Who knew that Lu Qing would appear out of nowhere this year? He's talented and can perform on the spot. Not only that, but he also knows how to create big news. I heard that he caught a student who jumped off a building a while ago, which caused a sensation in the school. It was on the 3rd page of Songqing Metropolis Daily, and even the portal website reprinted it. Then, the students of Songqing University are curious. They thought that they should at least go to the scene to see what Lu Qing looks like and how good his martial arts are. And this year, the martial arts club swept through the group competition of the preliminaries, and even the fearless squad became their sacrifice. After a while, their popularity suddenly gathered together. Ganlu said cooperatively, as the saying goes, a single tree can't hold up a forest, but 2 trees make a forest. With Lu Qing, Lin K won't be alone. I've seen the highlights of their previous matches. I have to say, I don't know where Coach Shi from Songqing University found Lu Qing. Such a martial arts genius is hard to come by. Besides, he and Lin K are still freshmen. Maybe next year, or maybe the year after, the difficulty of the preliminaries in the Songqing division will only depend on one thing, whether the Songqing University Martial Arts Club will participate or not. I've talked with my teammates in the club. They all agree that Lin K has already touched the threshold of the Dan stage and has a great chance of advancing within this year. As for Lu Qing, as long as he can build up his foundation, this obstacle won't be able to stop him. At the earliest next year, at the latest the year after next year, Songqing University Martial Arts Club will be led by 2 fighters of the Dan stage. Maybe 1 or 2 fighters of the professional 9th pin will emerge among the others. Yan Xiaoling, who was watching the live broadcast, quickly posted on the forum. Hey, today's commentator is so shameless. He keeps flattering our Lu Qing and Songqing University Martial Arts Club. I'm embarrassed. But I want to say, please continue, don't stop. What about this year? Old Gan, how far do you think Songqing University Martial Arts Club will go in the end? Fang Juexiao controlled the direction of the topic, so as not to divert it to outer space. This was the professional quality of a host. Ganlu smiled and said, I don't dare to make any promises. In this day and age, it's easy to get slapped in the face if you make any promises. I can only say this. After winning today's match, as long as Songqing University Martial Arts Club doesn't mess around, there won't be any problem for them to advance as the first in the group. However, once they advance, it will depend on the situation of the draw. To be honest, if they were to meet the undamaged, fearless squad again, they might not necessarily win. As for the other groups, there are those who are stronger than fearless squad, and there are also those who are on the same level as them. Huh, old Gon, you've become a wily old fox in the guest world. Feng Juexiao teased. In other words, today's match will determine at least one person in the third group to get the qualification. And it's good to get the qualification. After the qualification, they can immediately get a broadcasting share of 250,000 yuan. For martial arts clubs or teams, it's almost a profit. Each of the 8 qualified teams would get a share of 250,000 from the broadcast. Every time they advanced, they would get more. Entering the semi-finals would get 350,000 plus a still stance visualization technique. Entering the finals would get 550,000 plus a martial arts technique. Being the champion of their division would get an additional 600,000 in a dance stage unique skill that was compatible with the visualization technique. Gon Lu silently fired a shot. If it's just the quarterfinals, it won't be profitable. Why? Feng Juexiao roughly knew the reason, but he still had to ask to satisfy the curiosity of the audience. Take the Azure Dragon squad as an example. The 4 professional 9th pin fighters in the squad come from 4 different martial arts schools. They all have a fixed monthly salary. This can't be included in the cost of the preliminaries, right? As an experienced person, Gon Lu revealed the truth and said, of course not. This is the remuneration for guiding the students and guarding against challenges. But since they're participating in the preliminaries, who will pay for the ointment and soup they use during this period? They have to protect their bodies. Who will pay for the loss if they can't fight in the small challenge tournament? Martial arts competitions have a lot of risks. They should at least give something for the last match, right? They should at least give some bonus if they win a match, right? In this way, Azure Dragon squad will have to spend at least 100,000 yuan for the 3 months of group matches. When they qualify and get the broadcasting share, don't you feel embarrassed not to give them some bonus? According to the rules, they should at least take half of the 250,000 yuan and deduct the cost of the remaining. It's hard to say if they'll make a profit. Sigh, it's only because of the rise of online broadcasting that the TV stations are giving more generous money. In the past, they had to get a place in the division to make a profit. Feng Juexiao nodded and said, yes. Thank you, Master Gon, for solving this puzzle for us. However, the situation of each team in the group stage is different. Some spend 100,000 yuan to buy 3 months of advertisements, some spend 100,000 yuan to buy a rare opportunity to train their soldiers in actual combat, and some are purely doing voluntary work for their members. They don't get a single cent, so they don't have any expenses. Yes, I'm talking about Songqing University Martial Arts Club. Alright, the competition is about to begin. Let's turn our attention back to the arena. As for the special competition format, Master Gon and I have talked a lot about it, so I won't go into details. I just want to emphasize that the spirit of martial arts is to display the strongest and break through the strongest. I see the referee on the arena. The next match is worth 250,000 yuan. There's money for qualifying in the group matches? Lu Qing looked at Sun Jian in surprise. He had never thought that he would be able to earn money from the preliminaries. Sun Jian lowered his voice and said, I heard from the uncle in the school office that as long as we can qualify and get a share of the broadcast, most of it will go to the martial arts club. Take the first 250,000 yuan as an example. The plan is that the school will get 100,000 yuan for daily management and maintenance expenses. Coach Shi will get 50,000 yuan as a bonus. You and Lin K are professional fighters, so each of you will get 20,000 yuan. Me, Li Mao, Yan Zhika, and Hua Hua will be substitutes. Well, I'm a substitute, so each of us will get 10,000 yuan. Guo Qing will get 5,000 yuan, Li Xiaowen will get 2,000 yuan, Jiang Fusheng, Wu Meng, and Kai Zongming will get 1,000 yuan, and the rest will go to the martial arts club's coffers. As a fighter of amateur third pin, Lin Hua had a great chance to compete today. 20,000 yuan? Lu Qing couldn't help but gasp. He was worried about where to find the money for the dance stage and dating expenses during the summer vacation. Who would have thought that 20,000 yuan would fall from the sky? Although he still had more than 12,000 yuan in private savings, there was still a long way to go before the summer vacation. He still had so many dates to go on. Who knew how much would be left by then? Especially when he planned to take Yan Jika to some fun places during the May Day holiday. As for the wear and tear of his martial arts shoes and daily expenses of ointment, Yan Jika quietly covered all of them. Although she wouldn't deliberately split the money between them during dates, she would always advise Lu Qing to be frugal in other aspects. She was also very willing to spend money for him. When Kai Zhongming heard about this by chance, he even praised her, saying that one-sided giving wouldn't last long. Only by giving and receiving would one know how to cherish. 20,000 yuan. Lu Qing didn't look in the mirror, but he knew that his eyes must be shining. Previously, during the preliminaries, he had used his pure desire for victory to create his fighting spirit. But now, in his eyes, the Azure Dragon battle team was like a walking pile of cash, a bright future for him to advance to the dance stage, and a beautiful date between him and Yan Jika. In addition, the Azure Dragon squad had slightly offended him because of the special competition system they applied. Yesterday afternoon, Yan Jika specially asked Lin Hua, Sun Jian, and the others to practice the basic principles of besieging. In other words, there was no date this week. The Azure Dragon squad was the worst. Fight. Must fight. Win. Must win. He felt that his nostrils were snorting, and his fighting spirit was at the peak. He didn't need others to motivate him, and he didn't need Coach Shi's persuasion. It just so happened that he had mastered the frozen river diagram today. At this time, Geezer Shi clapped his hands, waking Yan Jika and the others from their meditation. He smiled and said, "Today's team is Lin Ke, Lu Qing, Sun Jian, Li Mao, Yan Jika, and Lin Hua. 6 against 3. In the away team's locker room, Mo Zizong put down his phone and stood up. He glanced at Deng Hua, Zhu Tao, and the others, and began to motivate them before the match. He closed his eyes and said in a low voice, "I know that not many people are optimistic about us in this match. If we didn't apply for the special competition system, I wouldn't be optimistic about it either. Even if we did, the current bets are betting that we will lose." Speaking of this, he pointed to the outside of the locker room. "Did you hear that? The cheers outside are so excited that they don't even think that this is an evenly matched match. Can you imagine?" In the TV station's pre-match analysis, they were all talking about what would happen if Songqing University Martial Arts Club won. Do you know? Songqing University may already be discussing the distribution of the broadcasting bonus. What does this mean? It means that in their eyes, we are not the Azure Dragon, but a loach. They can trample on us as they want. There is no possibility of us losing the match. With a boom, the other members of the Azure Dragon squad all stood up, their faces full of anger. This was an undisguised contempt. This was extremely infuriating contempt. They were thinking about what would happen if they won before the match. Did they think that we were dead? Mo Zizong raised his arms, clenched his fists, and said loudly, "Go out and let them know that we are not to be trifled with. Go out and tear off their pride and beat their arrogance. This is our battle to prove ourselves." Deng Hua, Zhu Tao, and the others immediately followed and shouted, "The battle to prove ourselves." In front of the computer, Yan Shaoling had quickly changed her sitting position. She focused on the screen and forgot to reply. In the Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, Su Wanyan also stayed and sat beside Peng Lian, watching the live broadcast with a solemn expression. Did junior brother Peng just say that Lu Qing will be my nemesis? Chapter 185. After announcing the name list, Geezer Shi smiled and said, "I won't talk about the specifics. Yen explained it well yesterday. It's quite comprehensive. You deserve to be a good student who can get a scholarship while doing special training. Hearing this, there was a burst of laughter in the locker room. Yenjika was so embarrassed that her face turned red. She wanted to find a hole to hide in. During the practice yesterday afternoon, she took a notebook and described all kinds of induction, deduction, and reasoning situations and gave responses. Beside her, Lu Cheng, who was trying hard to hold back his laughter, clearly remembered the girl's focused look and serious tone at that time. I won't talk about the importance of keeping a suitable distance. Their intention is clear. They want to divide us into 3 battlefields. Through their own interweaving, they can create local advantages and accumulate victory little by little. We can't be led by the nose by them and be isolated. We have to contact each other and connect the 3 battlefields into one. Only in this way can we play to our advantage. The following are divided into these situations. First of all, Lu Cheng and Lin Ke have to show their deterrence when they are isolated. They have to chase after their opponents and try to force them to come here. If they can't, they have to come here themselves. This is divided into several situations according to the different opponents and the situation. Second, Lin Ke is divided and limited. Third, Lu Cheng is divided and limited. Fourth, the effect of the opponent's elephant trumpet is beyond expectations. Ninth, unexpected changes happen. The situation is very passive. Lu Cheng and Lin Ke, you don't need to care about our victory or defeat. But you can use this to pretend to rescue us and set up a counterattack trap to create a chance for us to fight head-on. 10th, in the situation of chaos, senior brother Sun Jian, senior brother Li Mao, senior sister Lin Hua, Qing, we don't have to deal with the predetermined enemy. We can take advantage of the chaos to help Lu Cheng or Lin Ke and make the players who are fighting them lose their mobility. In short, the most important point is that as long as we can defeat one of their professional 9th pin, no matter who it is, we can still win the Azure Dragon squad even if all the substitutes leave the field. This principle must be grasped flexibly. Lu Cheng had heard that serious men were the most handsome. Yesterday afternoon, he learned that serious girls were not only beautiful, but also super cute. Yenjika seemed to radiate brilliance at that time. Therefore, he was a little jealous and stopped Li Mao and the others from calling him Coach Yen when they were joking. He requested that they only call him Coach Yen. This was a term of endearment that only belonged to him. Yenjika blushed when she saw the faint smile on her silent and cold cousin's face. She wished she could stomp her feet and snort at him. However, it was not the right time to flirt with her boyfriend in public. She could only force herself to hold it in. Looking down at her toes, she said softly, "I'm sorry. Coach, sure, I'm only summarizing the most likely scenario. It's not detailed enough." As she spoke, her left hand reached behind Lu Cheng and gently pinched him. I didn't laugh." Lu Cheng looked at the girl with a wronged expression. "I've endured so much." "Humph, we agreed to share blessings and hardships together." Yenjika glanced at him and pouted. She was a little proud of herself. She felt that her shyness and embarrassment had been relieved a lot. It's so good to have a boyfriend. As a lonely old man, Geyserscher pretended not to see their interaction. He smiled and said, "The situation on the battlefield is ever-changing. Even if you can summarize it all, they can't remember it. This kind of arrangement should be rough and not detailed. The key is to grasp the key points and play flexibly. The reason why this old man doesn't really like to guide you guys on how to play a specific match is because I want you to learn how to deal with it yourselves. You don't have to play in the arena all the time. There will always be a coach helping to analyze and prepare in advance. You'll remember what you've been through and you'll make fewer mistakes in the future." Lu Cheng listened thoughtfully and nodded slightly. He was indeed a master who was born in real combat. "Well, go out. It's time to test your results." Geyserscher turned around and walked to the door. He laughed in his heart, "I can't wait for you to lose the fight and accept the setback. Why would I help you analyze the siege situation and point out the problems in your preparation? Naive. Childish. I'll summarize it after the fight." For a moment, Geyserscher felt that he was the biggest spy in the martial arts club. As soon as the martial arts club members stepped out of the locker room, the organized audience immediately cheered, "Songqing University, go for it." Following that, the live announcer introduced the list of fighters. Songqing University Martial Arts Club's fighter today is Lin K. At this point, he deliberately paused for a moment. As a result, the nearly 10,000 students in the stands all stood up with a hubbub and shouted in unison, "Go for it, Lin K." Their voices overlapped and shook the sky. Even Lin K, who was reserved and silent, couldn't help but tremble slightly. When the shouts died down, the announcer continued to read, "Lu Cheng." His voice suddenly rose and was full of passion. This ignited the enthusiasm of the audience again. The students hit the seats with inflatable cheering sticks to match the tsunami of shouts, "Go for it, Lu Cheng." The loud and high-spirited sound waves entered Lu Cheng's ears. His body trembled and secreted more adrenaline. He felt the support of his classmates and suddenly felt a heavy pressure in his heart. They were so optimistic and excited that they didn't take the Azure Dragon squad seriously at all. They seemed to think that with the complete martial arts club of him and Lin K, they could easily defeat the opponent. Senior brother Sun Jian and the others were also thinking about how to use the broadcasting bonus after it was distributed. If the anticipated victory didn't come as expected, if he failed to live up to everyone's support, the atmosphere at the scene would be unimaginable. This seemed to be a match that couldn't be lost. One side of the burden was on his shoulders, while the other side was on Lin K's shoulders. In a short time, too many thoughts of wanting to win and fearing to lose appeared in Lu Cheng's mind. He couldn't help but turn to look at Lin K and Yen Jika. Lin K's eyes were dark. Except for the strong fighting spirit on the surface, they were like an ice lake with no ripples. Yen Jika's big eyes showed some excitement, and some worry. She also felt that everyone was too optimistic and the atmosphere was impetuous. They looked at each other and nodded to each other, understanding that they had the same worries. However, Lu Cheng also calmed down because of this. Anyway, not everyone was excited, and there were still some sober companions. So what if I want to win and fear to lose? I want to win every match and fear to lose. Lu Cheng took a breath and took the lead to walk past Coach Shi to the arena. At this time, the announcer was still reading the list of fighters. The names Li Mao, Yen Jika, Sun Jian, and Lin Hua echoed in the martial arts arena. It was the first time for them to experience such interactive enthusiasm. Their hearts beat faster and their blood boiled. Li Mao's body trembled and he was a little nervous. Fortunately, he knew that he was the assistant today, not the protagonist. His failure wouldn't affect the final result, so he restrained himself. On the other side of the arena, Mo Zizong, Deng Hua, and Zhu Tao were wearing indigo martial arts suits with green dragons around them. They were full of fighting spirit as they climbed the stone steps. Looking at the four black-clothed referees on the arena, Mo Zizong closed his eyes and recalled his mobilization in the locker room. He deliberately exaggerated some words to stir up the emotions of the team members. This was not only for today's match, but also for the long-term development. Before the joint establishment of the Azure Dragon Squad, each of the four martial arts schools only had one aged 9th pin and one robust 9th pin martial arts school. Not to mention the chain martial arts schools of high-ranked dance stage families, even Hongluo Martial Arts School could firmly suppress them by more than one level. After forming the Azure Dragon Squad, the reputation of Mo Zizong and the others spread in the martial arts circle of Songqing. They overshadowed the Hongluo Martial Arts School and were recognized as the second most popular team to advance in the group. They had a good reputation and a lot of benefits. If they lost today's match, the preliminaries of the Azure Dragon Squad would come to an end. It was hard to say whether they could form a team again next year. It was easy to go from frugality to extravagance, but difficult to go from extravagance to frugality. Mo Zizong, who was used to doing things as the captain of the Azure Dragon Squad, didn't want to go back to the past. He didn't want to go back to being an ordinary deputy master of a martial arts school. He wanted to unite the people with the preliminaries and win over the disciples of various martial arts schools. He wanted them to understand that they were weak when they were divided, but strong when they were united. He wanted to promote the four martial arts schools to form the Azure Dragon Club. When he opened his eyes, Lu Cheng and the others were already standing in front of him. There were 6 of them. After applying for the special competition format, they had to face the advantage of the enemy's number. If I had the strength of Lu Cheng or Lin Ke, everything wouldn't be so difficult. Mo Zizong glanced at his opponents with a little envy. Because there were too many people, there was no time for talking in the special competition format. There was only 1 minute for adjustment. After Li Mao and the others calmed down, the head referee waved his right hand. Start. As soon as he finished speaking, the 3 professional fighters of the Azure Dragon squad rushed out. Although Mo Zizong was known for his strength, his speed was not slow at all. His muscles were full of explosive power. He was like a running elephant. Deng Hua and Zhu Tao deliberately stayed half a step behind. From the perspective of the big screen, they were like a sharp arrow shot out, and Mo Zizong was the tip of the arrow. Facing this, Lu Cheng and Lin Ke rushed forward according to the analysis of Coach Yen in advance. Yan Zhika and the others kept a distance from each other and followed closely behind. When the 2 sides were about to collide, Mo Zizong suddenly stood still. His legs firmly planted on the ground, like a giant elephant calmly crossing a river. His muscles wriggled, and his abdomen swelled and then contracted. Woo! A horrible sound of elephant trumpet suddenly came out. Lu Cheng felt his head buzzing. His qi and blood were rolling in his chest, and his footsteps slowed down. Yan Zhika and the other amateur fighters were even worse. Their footwork was disordered, and they were dizzy. Fortunately, they were prepared for Mo Zizong's elephant trumpet. The tips of their tongues were always against their teeth. At this time, they gently bit and felt a stinging pain. They immediately woke up and endured the slight discomfort of their bodies to keep a good distance. At this time, Mo Zizong's abdomen swelled again. His face turned red and then white, and his throat suddenly squirmed. Woo! Another deafening elephant trumpet rang in the ears of Lu Cheng, Li Mao, and the others. They had just bitten the tip of their tongues, but Lin Ke, whose kung fu was already ingrained in his bones, was able to resist most of the impact with just a twitch of his ears. Mo Zizong had made elephant trumpet twice in a row. This was an ability he had never shown before. After the elephant trumpet, Mo Zizong stopped in place. His body trembled and his face turned pale. He was unable to attack for a while. The reason why he didn't use it before was that even if he used it, he couldn't seize the opportunity to attack the enemy. But this time, he had 2 teammates by his side. Deng Hua and Zhu Tao, who had practiced many times, first counteracted the elephant trumpet by exhaling. Then they immediately bit the tips of their tongues to stay awake. They stepped forward and passed Mo Zizong. One of them blocked Lin Ke, and the other rushed to Sun Jian. Chapter 186. Zhu Tao was bald and bearded, which made him look ferocious. But in reality, he was a good-tempered otaku who spent most of his time juggling the martial arts club and his family. He wanted to take the opportunity to attack Lu Cheng and get rid of him, but he knew clearly that Mo Zizong's second elephant trumpet was forced, and its power was far less than normal. It could only bully amateur fighters. For Lu Cheng, who had reached the level of professional 9th pin, it wouldn't affect him too much. At most, he would feel dizzy, nauseous, and lose balance for a few seconds. In this case, he had no way to defeat Lu Cheng. If he was careless, he would be forced to confront Lu Cheng head-on, which was not worth the loss. Lu Cheng was a fighter who had mastered silence skill and had great control over his body. Zhu Tao took a step forward and stomped with all his strength. Like a cheetah, he pounced in front of Sun Jian. His muscles bulged, propping up his greenish-black skin. Twisting his waist and back, he threw out an ordinary yet ferocious uppercut punch. He had watched the highlights of Songqing University Martial Arts Club's previous matches and found the videos of several substitutes participating in the ranking event. He knew that Sun Jian was the strongest among the 4 amateur fighters, although he had the worst luck and failed to pass the ranking event. Sun Jian was hit by the elephant trumpet and his tongue had returned to its original position. He didn't have time to bite it again. At this time, he felt like he was stepping on cotton. He was floating up and down and could barely keep himself from falling. Naturally, he was only feeling dizzy and uncomfortable, not unconscious. Facing Zhu Tao's attack, he reacted in time. Under the situation where he couldn't lower his waist and couldn't exert strength with his legs, he bounced his back, shook his shoulders, and threw out his right fist. Bang! Sun Jian's hasty and weak defense was blown away by Zhu Tao's punch, and Zhu Tao rushed to his front. He wanted to dodge, but he lost his sense of balance and almost fell. Yan Zhike, Li Mao, and Lin Hua tried to help him, but their feet were weak and they staggered, so they couldn't help in time. They could only watch the bald man slightly tilting his body, followed up with his left arm, and hit Sun Jian's lower abdomen with a hook. Puff! Zhu Tao withdrew his strength in time to avoid being disturbed by the referee. Even so, Sun Jian was still in pain and fell to the ground with his hands covering his abdomen. The referee next to him pulled him away and sent him out of the ring, so that he wouldn't be accidentally hurt by the following punches and kicks. When he left the battlefield and ran to the edge of the ring, another referee immediately followed him to fill in the gap. This was the reason why at least 4 referees were needed. When Zhu Tao seized the opportunity and successfully attacked, Deng Hua, who had a Mohican hairstyle, also encountered Lin Quebec. Although he didn't know that Lin K's unique skill was called Meteor Force, he knew that it wasn't something to be trifled with just by seeing that it could make Wei Xingtian, a professional 8th pin dance stage expert, tremble all over and stiffen up. Therefore, after a feint in front of him, he slid his feet and flashed to Lin K's side. His body slightly arched, his muscles trembled, and his waist and back swayed as he struck an aggressive blast punch. Roar! When this punch came out, there seemed to be a tiger's roar in the air. In fact, Deng Hua's muscles shook the airflow and the movement of his own breathing were superimposed. It showed its power, so it was called Tiger's Roaring Steel Fist. Lin K seemed to be anxious to stop Zhu Tao, so he didn't resist. His spine bounced and his body moved sideways, dodging and pouncing forward. Opportunity. Deng Hua's heart moved. His 10 toes hooked on the ground, and with a strange force, he caught up with Lin K in one step. In the tiger's roaring wind, Deng Hua threw a punch to his opponent's right shoulder. He grasped the timing very well. Lin K's right foot had just stepped out, so he couldn't kick to the side and back. His arm obviously couldn't block the punch, so it was too late to attack the opponent's vital part to force him to retreat. As a warrior who had experienced hundreds of battles, Deng Hua's heart could not help but flash with a trace of joy. If he could take advantage of Lin K's panic to take him down, then he would be the one who had contributed the most today, and could boast about it for several years. Puff! His punch had just hit Lin K, but he felt his opponent's body tremble, and his chi and blood seemed to be withdrawn. His shoulder suddenly sank, as if it was bouncing and shaking, and most of the power was removed. Lin K leaned forward to the right, but his body was like a seesaw. His chi and blood expanded, his waist and back twisted, and his spine undulated. Then his left leg swept backward. Bam! This kick stirred up a strong gust of wind, making it impossible for Deng Hua, who was already used to this move, to dodge. Deng Hua didn't dare to underestimate it. He lowered his waist, got into a good stance, and his left hand like a hammer. Bam! He only felt that his opponent's strength was so great that it was completely beyond his expectations. His left arm was kicked directly to his ribs, and it hurt so much that he could barely keep his center of gravity. Yin-yang twist, two people's strength. While his body was shaking, Lin K turned around with the momentum of the sweep. His temples suddenly bulged, as if there was a volcano brewing in his body. Along with the meteor in his mind, Lin K hurriedly swung his arm and quickly threw a punch between Deng Hua's chest and abdomen. He didn't hold back at all. From the very beginning, he used all his strength in a fake rescue and a real counterattack. Deng Hua endured the pain in his ribs, took a deep breath, and lowered his right arm in time to block his opponent's fist. Bam! He felt like he was hit by an iron hammer, and the strong shock quickly spread throughout his body. It seemed that even his teeth began to tremble, as if they were going to fall out of his gums. Deng Hua felt that every muscle, fascia, and bone in his body was unstable, and he couldn't exert force for a short time. But he spat out the breath he had just inhaled and visualized the corresponding picture, creating a reverse whirlpool in his body like a wind tunnel to eliminate most of the shock. While his qi and blood were surging, Deng Hua endured the pain and suddenly shrank his head, curling his body, and narrowly avoided Lin Kei's sweeping left arm whip. He didn't dare to fight head-on with his opponent, so he took the opportunity to dodge to the side like a civet cat. It wasn't until he had successfully escaped that he suddenly rejoiced that he had narrowly escaped death. Lin Kei no longer pretended. He stamped his feet, and his spine undulated like a dragon, and suddenly rushed to the side. His left arm was already raised, and his elbow was the angle of attack. Deng Hua kept dodging and wandering. Although the range of his movement was getting smaller and smaller under the opponent's active attack, he didn't show any sign of defeat in a short time. At this moment, Zhu Tao had rushed to the front of Yan Zhika. His black and blue skin bulged, and he suddenly punched with both feet, ignoring Li Mao and Lin Hua behind him. After getting rid of Sun Jian, of course, he would deal with this beauty who could forcibly pull back her center of gravity and achieve the primary level of meditation. And it was said that she was Lu Cheng's girlfriend, which could effectively affect the strong enemy's state of mind. When there were only 2 amateur fighters left in Songqing University Martial Arts Club, he wouldn't be afraid at all. Even if there were 2 of amateur first pin, it would be a piece of cake. The first 2, Elephant Trumpet, and the first attack would decide the result. Bang! The blue bricks under Zhu Tao's feet cracked. His fist exploded the air and hit like a real iron hammer. Yan Zhika had begun to recover. She knew that as long as she could block this attack, she would be rescued by her companions. So she didn't panic. She took a deep breath to bear the pain, lowered her waist, and crossed her arms. Bang! She had just blocked Zhu Tao's fist and made a step back in time, trying to dissipate the force. Under normal circumstances, she should have been able to block this punch and failed because of the opponent's follow-up attack. But now she had just recovered from that elephant trumpet and hadn't completely adjusted her condition, so she didn't have enough strength to use and dissipate the force. After a moment of stagnation, she couldn't bear it and took another step back. Her light body staggered. Lu Cheng had recovered a while before Zhu Tao quickly defeated Sun Jian. At this time, seeing Yan Zhika in danger, he seemed to rush over without thinking. Like an eagle with open wings, he was going to attack the enemy's back. Besieging Wei to rescue Zhao. Seeing this, Mo Zizong, who had recovered, was happy. He knew that Lu Cheng was worried about his girlfriend and made the most unwise choice. His strong legs suddenly rushed to Li Mao, who was attacking Zhu Tao. He wanted to take advantage of the remaining effect of that elephant trumpet to finish him quickly. As long as Lu Cheng couldn't defeat Zhu Tao in 1 or 2 attacks, the situation would be reversed. Zhu Tao was not a fool. Once Lu Cheng attacked, he would definitely give up attacking Yan Zhika and turn to a wandering battle instead of a head-on fight. You are still too young and inexperienced. At this moment, he saw Lu Cheng, who was charging forward, stomp on the ground, shattering the green bricks. Using the force of the stomp, Lu Cheng turned around and pounced on him aggressively. It was as if Lu Cheng had long been prepared and expected this. He grasped the timing perfectly, making it impossible for him to dodge in time. According to Coach Yan's instructions, once she was in danger, he should not rush to rescue her. That would only cause chaos and give the opponent the opportunity to take advantage of the situation. The best choice was to fake rescue and counterattack. A thought flashed through Lu Cheng's mind. He had already adjusted his muscles when he pounced on Zhu Tao. Now he was ready. Facing Lu Cheng, whose eyes were cold and hard to dodge, Mo Zizong took a deep breath and gathered his strength, ready to fight. He could see that although Lu Cheng could continuously throw out tremor punch, the effect of each tremor punch was weaker than Lin Kei's. I don't believe that I can't withstand a tremor punch. I don't believe that I can't find a chance to dodge. He concentrated on visualizing. His body muscles trembled, and a deep elephant trumpet came out of his abdomen, which didn't affect the opponent. He held his hands together as if he was holding a giant elephant. He exerted strength under his feet, straightened his back, and fiercely threw out to Lu Cheng. Crack. The blue bricks around his feet cracked like a spider web. Throwing elephant skill, strength of one elephant. Lu Cheng's eyes were like a frozen lake. In his mind, he had visualized the scene of a surging river. He rushed to the front of Mo Zizong, paused and stepped on the ground. He twisted his waist and sprung his spine to shoot out a mountain breaker cannon. At the same time, the cold current in his body surged and rushed to his right fist. The great river, in his heart, froze rapidly inch by inch. Even the splashing waves in the air stopped, sparkling and translucent. He threw out a punch. Frost Force. Chapter 187. Bang! With a dull sound, the big screen in the stadium froze at the place where Lu Cheng and Mo Zizong's fists collided. There seemed to be rings of impact spreading outward. Some of the audience forgot the panic when Sun Jian was knocked out of the ring. They stared at the screen attentively, forgetting to cheer for Lu Cheng. The exchange of blows only lasted for a moment, but Mo Zizong felt as if he had passed a long century. Guarding against the impact of the shock, he only felt that the rolling cold current was instilled into his body by the opponent's power. In an instant, his arms were frozen stiff and spread to all parts of his body, making him feel as if he had stayed up all night naked in a world of ice and snow. He couldn't help but tremble, and his lips turned blue. There was only one thought in his mind. So cold. So cold. Lu Cheng was not relaxed either. The Frost Force was not a unique skill to enhance strength, and Mo Zizong was born with great strength, which could be called outstanding even among all the professional ninth pin fighters. At most, he was inferior to Yi Yaoting. In addition, he practiced the throwing elephant skill, which was famous for enhancing strength. When he attacked with full strength, he was almost as powerful as Jiang Guoxing of Hongluo Martial Arts School. The power of Jiang Guoxing's outburst was said to be somewhat like the power of Dan's stage. Therefore, Lu Cheng immediately felt a terrible force that could lift an elephant and throw it out. He didn't dare to resist for fear of hurting his right arm. After judging that it was not enough to reduce the force by retreating, he straightened his back and took the initiative to swing his center of gravity backward. He stepped back 3 steps in a row. At the beginning, he cracked the black bricks, but now the ground was intact. Until then, Mo Zizong heard his heart beating strongly. Thump, 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 thump. It kept spurting out hot blood to relieve the coldness in his body. What kind of martial arts is this? I can't resist at all. I can't guard against it at all. He looked at Lu Cheng in astonishment and wanted to chase, but his body was trembling and his legs were stiff. It was difficult for him to even take a step forward. He could only hope that the temperature of his blood could help him recover as soon as possible. What kind of martial arts is this? Noticing that Lu Cheng rushed to Mo Zizong, Zhu Tao no longer hesitated. He stepped forward and caught up with Yan Jika, who was stumbling backward. He wanted to defeat her before she regained her balance. With a bang, he shook his right arm and threw a straight punch at his opponent's neck. Seeing that she couldn't resist, Yan Jika decided to give up her center of gravity. She leaned back and kicked high, followed by the lazy donkey roll. At this time, Li Mao and Lin Hua arrived in time. One of them tightened his thigh muscles and pulled out a whip kick, kicking between Zhu Tao's legs from behind. The other one lowered his waist and did a downward chop, attacking the opponent's temple from the side. They were all vital points, yet he didn't hesitate. In this situation, Zhu Tao seemed to have anticipated it. He straightened his back and his dark skin swelled. He moved a small step to the left, so that Li Mao's kick hit his thigh and Lin Hua's punch hit his right shoulder. Puff! Puff. Both of their attacks failed to penetrate the enemy's iron cloth shirt. Zhu Tao, on the other hand, borrowed some of the force and pounced forward. When he brushed past Yen Jika, he stretched out his hands, grabbed her right arm, and threw her out of the ring. Yen Jika felt like she was flying in the air. She forced herself to calm down and adjusted her body in the air. She controlled part of her center of gravity. Then she straightened her spine and put strength in her waist. She turned over and landed lightly. She didn't fall. The only problem was that she was outside the ring. I'm so angry, but I have to keep smiling. I can't affect Cheng and the others. She pursed her lips and walked around the ring to the seats of the home team while watching the match on the field. No matter how much preparation and analysis was done, it was always not enough in the ever-changing actual combat. Zhu Tao was relieved when he succeeded in one move. He took a few steps forward, turned around, and pounced on Li Mao and Lin Hua. This time, he didn't need to worry about being besieged. Two amateur fighters couldn't be called besieging. At this time, Lu Qing released most of his strength and gathered the rest into the soles of his feet. In exchange, he made a cracking sound and a more ferocious attack. Both the students on the scene and the audience in front of the computer and TV were surprised that Mo Zizong didn't seize the opportunity when Lu Qing lost his center of gravity and staggered back. But Yan Shaoling and Brahman thought of Peng Qingguang in the last match and nodded as if they understood everything. Yes, tremor punch. Only Peng Liyun in the office of Shanbei University Martial Arts Club frowned slightly and stared at Mo Zizong's pale lips. While pouncing on his opponent, who had not yet fully recovered, Lu Qing quickly adjusted the subtle changes in his body corresponding to the frozen ground map, so that some of his muscles, fascia, and joints were in a ready state. Since he had only started practicing the Thunder Roar Zen for a month, his martial arts had not yet been refined into his bones and body, so he could only rely on the breathing method to indirectly affect his internal organs. Therefore, he needed a certain amount of time to prepare to use the frost force, which was difficult to achieve in one go. And because he had just started to practice this force today, he couldn't combine it with the Thunder Roar Zen, so he couldn't use the severe warning, which was the ultimate move of the latter. Within 2 steps, Lu Qing rushed to Mo Zizong. He had adjusted his body and was ready. In his mind, he once again visualized the surging river with turbid waves. Crack. Lu Qing stepped on the ground and completely crushed a cracked brick. He bent his ankle joint, straightened his knee, straightened his back, swung his shoulder, and made a seemingly ordinary forward punch. But in his body, the forces that had been brewing burst out at the same time. They overlapped with each other and created a sense of coldness, which made the power of frost suddenly magnified and turned into a cold wave, rolling to the front of his fist. In the visualization, the cold wave came, and the river with horrible kinetic energy was frozen in an instant. It was covered with layers of ice, and the waves flying in the air were no exception. They were like delicate works of art. Stimulated by this, Lu Cheng's muscles, viscera, and fascia regenerated subtle changes. Then there was a strange wave, which condensed the coldness rushing to the front of his fist and turned it into ice. Ice frost force and frost force. Bang! When Lu Qing made the forward punch, there seemed to be white air around his fist, like the kind that was exhaled in the cold winter. This was a sign that he was not skilled enough in frost force, so the force leaked out. The sign of the real primary level was that when he made a punch, all the force would be restrained. Facing this punch, thinking of the experience just now, Mo Zizong really didn't want to block it, so as to avoid another cold hell. But he had no choice. The numbness of his legs had just disappeared. If he hurriedly dodged, Lu Qing would seize the opportunity to give him a fierce punch. He suddenly took a deep breath, and a low elephant sound came from his abdomen again. But the sound was full of trembling, like a tropical animal coming to the extreme north. Lowering his waist and back, Mo Zizong bulged his stiff arm muscles and crossed his arms in front of his body. Bang! The punch hit the center. The cold current poured into Mo Zizong's body, making him taste the horrible feeling of his body being frozen quickly and even losing his consciousness. Cold. 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 His teeth chattered involuntarily. He only felt that the temperature of his body was rapidly decreasing. His heart beat violently, resisting the invasion of the cold. Frost Force. In the office of Shanbei University Martial Arts Club, Peng Lian whispered to himself. Frost Force? Su Wanyan looked at junior brother Peng beside him in astonishment. The computer screen in front of them flashed with snowflakes and made a buzzing sound, as if it was affected by an external electromagnetic field. When Yan Zhika was thrown out of the ring, Lin Ke, who was constantly reducing the range of Deng Hua's fighting, suddenly stopped, as if he had fallen into a state of silence. He took a breath, and seemed to withdraw his force, spirit, and qi and blood. After suppressing them to a certain extent, they suddenly burst out and gushed out. In the midst of the gushing, Lin Ke suddenly pounced forward, like a leopard that finally caught the opportunity to hunt. Deng Hua thought that the safe distance and reaction time were all gone under this pounce. Before he could dodge, Lin Ke had already arrived in front of him. The feeling of the dance stage. He was horrified. He took a deep breath, and without even thinking about it, he quickly raised his arms in front of him. He had just put on a defensive posture when Lin Ke's fist hit him like a meteor. It was extraordinarily fast, mixed with the remaining gushing intent. Bang! The moment the two came into contact, Deng Hua felt as if he had been struck by a bomb. The shockwave roared, shaking his entire body, causing every bone in his body to shake. Every muscle in his body trembled, and every part of his blood and qi was roiling. What's more, it also triggered the residual effect of the last fight, which affected his internal organs, making him feel extremely uncomfortable and nauseous. Therefore, he tried to use the method to offset part of the shock, but his efforts were delayed by half a beat. He could only watch Lin Ke punch him again. Facing Zhu Tao's counterattack, Li Mao suppressed the nervousness in his heart and didn't fight head-on. He slid to the side and cooperated with Lin Hua to hit his throat and temple. Relying on his iron shirt, Zhu Tao suddenly shrank his head, lowered his body, and bumped into Li Mao's fist sideways. Clang! Due to the change of height and position, Lin Hua's fist hit him squarely on the forehead, making a sound like a hand patting an ancient bell. Lin Hua's fist fell on his neck, but was bounced off by his thick neck, which had swelled up after he breathed in. Bang! Zhu Tao bumped into Li Mao and made him stagger, forcing him to take a step back and barely stabilize himself. Then, the bald man, relying on his iron shirt and accurate prediction, resisted Lin Hua's kick and strode forward. He swung his hands and hit Lin Hua fiercely. Li Mao couldn't dodge. After blocking 2 kicks, he was in a precarious situation. At this moment, Lin Hua caught up with him. He tightened his foot and whipped his leg, kicking Zhu Tao's vital part. At the critical moment, Zhu Tao didn't block the attack head-on. He slid his feet, spun his body, and nimbly dodged to Li Mao's back. Taking a hit from the horse's hind leg, he forcibly closed the distance and punched his opponent's spine. He didn't use any strength, but the referee had pulled Li Mao away and asked him to leave the arena. In just a short time, Lin Hua was the only one left among the 4 amateur warriors. When she saw Zhu Tao coming at her, she instinctively chose to move and dodge. Zhu Tao was satisfied, knowing that he had won. As long as Mo Zitsong and Deng Hua didn't lose in a few moves, things would be easy. He glanced at the other 2 battlefields and saw Mo Zitsong's strong and sturdy figure standing there, which made people feel at ease. At this time, he was crossing his hands in front of him, blocking Lu Cheng's fist. Good. I'll attack you from both sides. Zhu Tao thought, but his eyes suddenly froze. Because Lu Cheng had turned around and stopped looking at Mo Zitsong. Is he stupid? Zhu Tao stopped in his tracks. He wanted to see Mo Zitsong give Lu Cheng a fierce blow behind his back, but he only saw that the captain, who was usually called Elephant, was obviously trembling, and his face was strangely pale. What's wrong? Zhu Tao forgot that he had to catch up with Lin Hua and stopped in shock. Lu Cheng bent his body and fixed his eyes on Zhu Tao. Behind him, Mo Zitsong fell to the ground, making a loud noise and splashing some stones. Lu Zhishan killed Jin Guanxi with 3 punches. This is the challenge tournament, and I only used 2 punches. How can I defeat elephant like this? While Zhu Tao was in shock, he heard another sound of someone falling to the ground. He turned his head and saw Deng Hua lying on the arena, retching. Lin Ke turned his body and locked his eyes on Zhu Tao like Lu Cheng. His eyes were cold and reserved. One was Lu Cheng, and the other was Lin Quebec. Zhu Tao couldn't help but feel desperate. What the hell is going on? Lin Hua also noticed the change of the situation. She stood not far away and looked at Zhu Tao with embarrassment. When Lin Ke and Lu Cheng attack me from both sides, it will be dangerous. I can't get close to them. If I join them, I will be a burden. In this case, I have nothing to do in the arena. What should I do? She seriously considered this difficult question. Chapter 188. Lin Hua didn't hesitate for long because when Lu Cheng and Lin Ke pounced on Zhu Tao from both sides like a wolf and a tiger, this fierce-looking bald tough guy swelled his dark skin, bounced his spine, and suddenly ran to the side like a rabbit being shot by an arrow. Then, he jumped out of the ring. Jumped out of the ring, the cheers of the audience stopped abruptly, and there was a moment of silence. Unexpectedly, the awe-inspiring Zhu Tao didn't even dare to try and directly admitted defeat. He was in a hurry, as if he was escaping from a dangerous place. Under the ring, Zhu Tao didn't feel ashamed at all. Instead, he felt lucky that he made a prompt decision without hesitation. If it was just Lu Cheng alone, no matter whether he had fought hard or not, he wouldn't dare to say that he had a good chance of winning. The horror of the tremor punch in succession was still fresh in people's minds. And now, Lin Ke was eyeing him like a tiger watching its prey. If he didn't admit defeat, would he stay in the ring and wait for the new year? It was not that he was timid, but that the enemy was too strong and too terrible. A wise man submits to circumstances. He thought about raising his hand to admit defeat to the referee, but considering that he had just thrown Lu Cheng's girlfriend out, he was worried that Lu Cheng would pounce on him before he could make a move. He would pretend not to know and beat him up first. So, it was safer to dodge first and take the initiative to jump out of the ring. Lu Cheng stopped where Zhu Tao was standing and watched him jump off the ring with amusement. He didn't expect that this tough-looking bald tough guy would admit defeat so quickly. He couldn't help but sigh to Lin Ke next to him. Actually, I'm close to my limit. Zhu Tao didn't need to be so scared. This was not a lie. He had just learned the Frost Force and was not familiar enough, so the consumption was much greater than expected. What he had prepared before was to use the Frost Force followed by the Thunder Roar Zen, but his plan was disrupted by the second elephant trumpet. In order to turn the situation around in time, he had to go all out and use the second Frost Force. Until now, he felt that his spirit was a little empty. However, Lu Cheng didn't think that it was lucky to scare Zhu Tao away with only his momentum. If they really fought, he could still use the Thunder Roar Zen, and his other martial arts were also at the level of professional ninth pin. Besides, he still had his brother-in-law, didn't he? Wouldn't it be great to be his assistant, slacking off and practicing the Taiping boxing? Hearing Lu Cheng's exclamation, Lin Ke turned to look at him and spat out 3 words without changing his expression. Me too. I, too, am I? Lu Cheng was stunned at first, then he came to his senses and looked at his brother-in-law in shock. He saw that his brother-in-law's eyes were dark and clear, and he didn't look like he was joking. What a coincidence. Lu Cheng couldn't help but laugh dryly. At this time, the referee raised his right hand and loudly announced, in the end, Songqing University Martial Arts Club wins. The audience let out a cheer, cheering for the victory, but also regretting that the battle had ended so quickly. The match just now was exciting enough and thrilling enough. The only problem was that it was too short. It's not satisfying, it's not satisfying. With the referee's announcement, Lu Cheng restrained all other emotions, and only the joy of victory and the shouts of bonus, bonus echoed in his heart. He raised his hand and applauded to the students on both sides of the stands. In the warm applause, he walked briskly back to the seats of the home team, clenched his fists, and bumped with Sun Jian, Li Mao, and the others one by one. When he came to Yen Jika, he resisted the urge to hug the girl. Taking care of her thin face, he whispered with a smile, "It's all thanks to Coach Yan's ample preparation in advance." Yen Jika smiled brightly, and her 2 rows of teeth were crystal clear and neat. She slightly raised her chin and said, "Humph, now you know that you won't lose by following me, right?" After saying this, she turned her head and looked to the side, pretending to be normal and said, "Your frost force is also very powerful." Hearing Yen Jika's praise, Lu Qing suddenly felt satisfied and proud, as if he was happier than winning the battle just now. Moreover, even without the Jin Dan, the frost force now truly belonged to him. The qualifying bonus should be no problem, he said happily. At this moment, he had a flash of inspiration and took the opportunity to make an invitation. "After 3 months of hard work, I finally got a good result. How about we take the bonus and have a trip nearby on the 1st of May to celebrate?" Yen Jika looked up and her pretty face flushed. "I have to think about it." "Think about what?" Lu Qing asked half-jokingly. He was in a very good mood. For this kind of thing, the girl didn't directly refuse, which meant that there was a great chance. "Humph, it depends on whether I like the tourist spot you choose or not. It depends on whether you are honest or not." Yen Jika snorted, but there was no anger in her eyes. Geezershire looked at them silently and couldn't help but curse. "How can there be no setbacks? This bastard still doesn't come to please me. He only knows how to follow Yen Jika around. I'd rather raise a dog than accept this disciple." On the side of the Azure Dragon squad, Mo Zizong and Deng Hua had been helped off the stage. One was pale and trembling, and the other was dizzy, walking unsteadily and frequently retching. While the substitutes listened to the unscrupulous cheers of the audience, they all looked sad. They felt depressed, but they also had a sense of common hatred. Songqing University Martial Arts Club is indeed very strong. Lin Kei and Lu Qing are indeed very strong. But we did have a little chance just now. It's all my fault that I underestimated Lu Qing. I didn't expect that he had mastered such a strange force. Mo Zizong took a deep breath and exhaled the chill, seriously self-reviewing. In fact, he was convinced of his defeat in the previous match. After being forced to fight recklessly, he really had no chance to defeat Lu Qing's chill force. But he couldn't say it out loud. He still had to keep hope, so that it would be easier to integrate the 4 martial arts clubs. Deng Hua followed. "I also made a mistake. Ugh, I didn't expect that Lin Kei could control his qi, blood and force. Anyway, although we lost this match, it's still honorable. If we come again next year, we may have a chance to advance in the group." Zhu Tao also put gold on his face. But when he recalled the battle just now, he still felt a lingering fear. He only felt that Lu Qing and Lin Kei's eyes were still locked on him. When they met again, they would probably be in the dance stage. In the live broadcast room of Songqing TV station, Fang Juexiao smiled bitterly. "This match is really wonderful, but it's too short. How long has it been since the fight started? Is it more than a minute?" "Almost." Ganla laughed. "Isn't there a backup match?" "It's fine as long as this match is wonderful." "You're right." Fang Juexiao nodded and said, "Old Gan, I always feel that the 2 punches Lu Qing gave Mo Zizong were a little strange. Can you give us an analysis?" Ganla nodded and said, "Okay, let's look at the screen. This is a screenshot. We can clearly see that Mo Zizong's lips are blue and his face is pale, as if he was frostbitten. And Lu Qing usually uses the 24 blizzard strikes of the unique skills of the ice sect. We have reason to believe that he has a supernatural ability or a special talent. He has already mastered one of the core forces of the unique skills of the ice sect before reaching the Dan stage. Let me explain. Martial arts moves are relatively simple without any fancy tricks before reaching the high-ranked Dan stage. The core is the technique of exerting force. Every sect has its own secret. Once it's combined with visualization and raised to the level of force, it's the core part of a unique skill. You can say that no matter which branch of the ice sect Lu Qing belongs to, he can be called a core disciple. I see. Fang Juexiao echoed, what about Lin Ke? I feel that the ability he showed today is much better than before. Gamla gave an affirmative answer, yes, he has grasped the feeling of withdraw. I said before that he could reach the Dan stage within this year. Now I have to correct it. Maybe in the first half of this year. While listening to the explanation in the video, Yan Shaoling posted excitedly, hey, who can explain to me in detail what the core force of the ice sect is? Shiet D. Unparalleled Dragon King, and Road to the Arena, in the main post. Unparalleled Dragon King, replied quickly, aren't you just in charge of being a love-struck fool? Why are you asking this? Eternal Nightfall, Yan Shaoling replied immediately, don't look down on me. I'm not only a love-struck fool, I'm also a love-struck fool. No, I'm also a self-deprecator. She was often ridiculed in the past, but she never got angry. Instead, she was very cooperative and dared to self-deprecate. In the fan forum of Lu Qing, she had the title of Love-Struck Fool. I have nothing to say to that, as expected of the Northern Land Love-Struck Fool, Brahman, Unparalleled Dragon King, and other familiar IDs expressed their admiration one by one. In the end, Unparalleled Dragon King explained again in detail, the so-called something-something force is the essence of a unique skill. Without it, even if one learns physical invulnerability moves, it's just a facade. At most, one can only wield 30 to 40% of the original power. Only when a martial artist reaches the Dan stage will they come into contact with this kind of thing. At that time, they will have enough control over their body and the quality of their physical body to cultivate. The peak of the body refinement realm can barely give it a try, but it will be very difficult for the force produced to have special effects such as cold or burning. Lu Qing was able to create the effect of freezing the body before reaching the peak of the body refining stage. This means that he probably has a supernatural ability related to ice or some other special talent. Damn, I remember that he has the supernatural ability of fire. What the hell? Eternal Nightfall, Yan Shaoling replied with a spinning expression. Thank you, Dragon King. Although I am not very clear about it, I know that it is very, very powerful. Little Nightfall, I'm even sadder. My idol has actually mastered the core force of the ice sect. I had hoped that he would join the Longhu Club after graduation and inherit the unique skills of the fire sect. Said Brahman. No matter what, he has mastered this technique. His future is limitless. Nye Chichi and the others made similar sentiments. Okamoto's fan suddenly popped up and said, am I the only one who noticed that Songqing University Martial Arts Club has a substitute girl who can score 9 points? You're not the only one. I was just about to send it when the competition ended. My Buddhist name is Luan Lai, replied. I've been thinking about taking the college entrance exam this year, going to Songqing University and joining the martial arts club. When Yan Shaoling saw this reply, she chuckled and muttered to herself, I don't need to think. She tagged Unparalleled Dragon King again and asked happily, how far do you think they can go in the preliminaries? They have no problem getting through the group stage. But their opponents are getting stronger and stronger. I'm afraid there is no hope for them to go further. Sigh, there is still more than a month until the knockout match in May. Who knows how strong Lu Qing and Lin Ke will be by then? I can't be so sure. Unparalleled Dragon King didn't dare to make a judgment. Shu Rui, a reporter from Songqing TV station, first interviewed the Azure Dragon squad who were in a hurry to leave. Then she came to the locker room of the home team and waited at the door to interview them one by one. The first one to open the door was Lin Quebec, looking at him who was clean and quiet. Shu Rui's heart skipped a beat. She remembered the cold humor last time. She asked cautiously, Lin Ke, is it convenient for you to accept the interview? Lin Ke nodded, indicating that it was okay. Shu Rui chose her words carefully and said, Lin Ke, when you pounced on Deng Hua just now, it was more explosive than usual. Is it because you have grasped the feeling of withdraw? Lin K answered seriously, it's a secret. Secret? Secret my ass. Who can't see it? Shu Rui had the urge to go crazy. Chapter 189. Keep smiling, keep smiling. Shu Rui put on a perfect professional smile and said, then Lin K, what do you think of your performance in this match? Are you satisfied, or do you think it's not perfect enough? After asking, she blinked and looked at Lin K innocently, praying that he would stop making lame jokes. Lin K was silent for more than 10 seconds before he slowly said, just passed. Just passed? Why would you make such an evaluation? To be able to defeat a martial artist of the same level in such a short time, no matter how you evaluate it, it's enough to be called pretty good. Shu Rui keenly grasped this point and continued asking. Lin K said solemnly, when I used the first tremor punch, I wasn't fast enough and he dodged it. Although he had used the yin-yang twist to remove some of the force and borrowed some of it, his martial arts were not the means of the immortals. His own level was also not enough to remove some of the force and he could only rely on his body to resist. Because of this, he was affected to a certain extent. After using the meteor force with the leg sweep, he had to catch his breath and was half a beat slower, allowing Deng Hua to dodge it. If he had handled it better, Deng Hua might have been defeated by him in the first counterattack. With the physical fitness of the peak of the body refining stage, it's already very good for you to be able to do this. You don't have to take it to heart, right? Shu Rui said as her eyebrows relaxed. She vaguely felt that she had grasped Lin K's conversational skills. Just mention the specific details of the battle. If there's a deficiency, you have to find the reason. If the physical fitness is not good enough, you have to work hard to improve your body, Lin K said slowly. Shu Rui rolled her eyes and smiled sweetly. So, Student Lin means that you want to enter the Dan stage as soon as possible and break the limits of your body? Yes. Lin K was neither humble nor arrogant. He simply nodded his head calmly. This young master is not that difficult to deal with. If I know his temper, I'll follow his instructions. I'm indeed a rare reporter. Shu Rui praised herself in her heart and asked curiously, your tremor punch seems to be a little different from Lu Cheng's tremor punch. Your skills to remove and borrow force are also different from the 24 blizzard strikes. Can you tell us their names? As soon as she finished speaking, her heart skipped a beat. She felt that she had asked the wrong question. Lin K's answer seemed to be predictable. As expected, Lin K replied faintly, that's right. It's a secret. What King secrecy? Shu Rui wanted to cover her face with her hands and let out a long sigh, but she had to maintain her composure in front of the camera. She could only watch as Lin K nodded his head slightly and walked away from the locker room. After calming herself down, Shu Rui continued to interview the members of the martial arts club who had just come out of the locker room. For example, she asked Geezer Shi what his goal was for the final ranking in the preliminaries, Sun Jian's thoughts on being defeated by the second elephant trumpet, and Lin Hua's feelings on how he had come back from the dead at the last moment. Li Mao and the others were very excited because they were about to receive a large amount of broadcasting bonus. They were very cooperative with the interview, which made Shu Rui feel relaxed. The only thing that puzzled her was that Coach Shi of Songqing University Martial Arts Club seemed to lack interest in the goal after the preliminaries. Thank you for your cooperation, Guoqing. Towards the end, Shu Rui said with a smile. Guoqing's face lit up as she hurriedly said, why are you being so polite? It's my duty, my duty. Shu Rui glanced at the locker room door a few steps away and asked casually, is Lu Qing still inside? Yes. Guoqing answered straightforwardly. Then her expression became a little strange as she added, Reporter Shu, are you waiting to interview Lu Qing? Yes, he is one of the biggest contributors to today's victory. Shu Rui said without hesitation. Guoqing opened her mouth as if she wanted to say something, but in the end, only a meaningful reminder came out, it may take a long time, it doesn't matter. It's not a live broadcast. Shu Rui smiled carelessly. The previous interview with the Azure Dragon squad was a live broadcast after the match, so she had to hurry. But now the TV station had switched to a prepared match, so the interview with the Martial Arts Club of Songqing University was put at the end. In other words, this was not a live broadcast. Since it's not a live broadcast, of course I can wait. How much longer could he dawdle? Guoqing looked at her deeply and said nothing more, leaving the martial arts club. In the locker room, Lu Qing was still applying ointment to Yan Jika's arm. In the previous match, Yan Jika actually didn't fight too fiercely. Her arms were only bruised because she took Zhu Tao's punch head-on. In addition, when she was thrown out, a pair of finger marks were left on her arms, which slightly tore her fascia and muscles. But in total, there were not many places that needed to be treated. Lu Qing was even more relaxed. In the whole match, he only hit Mo Zizong with his fist twice and crushed a few black bricks under his feet. With their strength and number of internal injuries, it would take at most a few minutes to apply the ointment and rub the ointment. But after the shower, Lu Qing still took more than 10 minutes to finish. Seeing that the locker room was getting quieter and quieter, and all the others had left, he suddenly sped up and finished the rub. "It's your turn to help me." He smiled and handed the ointment to Yan Jika. Yan Jika rolled her eyes at him and snorted, "You're too slow." Everyone knew what Lu Qing was thinking. Although she said so, she still took the jar of ointment, dug out a piece, and finished applying the ointment. In less than 2 minutes, everything was done. When Yan Jika was about to withdraw her hand, she heard Lu Qing chuckle, "I have another injury, where?" Yan Jika blinked and asked blankly and concernedly. "Here." Lu Qing opened his mouth and put the tip of his tongue to the gap between his teeth. "I was bitten when I was fighting against the elephant trumpet. I need a kiss from Coach Yan to heal." Yan Jika was angry and amused. She pursed her lips, showing her dimples, and dug a little bit of ointment with her little finger. "Come on, I'll apply it for you." Qing is getting more and more shameless. While speaking, her hand had already reached over. Lu Qing burst into laughter and immediately said, "I'm wrong, Coach Yan, don't do this." His right hand reached out, drawing a beautiful half-arc, and grabbed the girl's wrist, as if to stop her. Yan Jika was suddenly interested. She exploded the strength of her shoulders, elbows, and wrists, and accelerated to escape from Lu Qing's grasp. She was going to apply the ointment on his mouth. How could Lu Qing's big and small hand wrap be broken so easily? With a shake of his shoulder, he threw out his right hand to grab the girl's forearm. Yan Jika bit her lower lip, eyes bright, and joined in with Lu Qing with her left hand, practicing grappling kung fu with him. For a moment, the wind between them was fierce, and their hands were pointing at each other. It was very lively. The result was as expected. Yan Jika, who had only practiced grappling kung fu slightly, was caught by Lu Qing on both wrists. "You don't even let me." Yan Jika gasped for breath and said with a righteous smile. Her oval face was flushed because of the exercise, and there was a thin layer of sweat on her forehead. "It's so interesting to play with such a hidden practice." She finished her words in a light tone, but found that Lu Qing didn't answer. He just looked at her attentively and passionately. What are you looking at?" Her wrists were caught by Lu Qing, and her face was stared at by him. Suddenly, Yan Jika felt inexplicably flustered. Lu Qing swallowed his saliva and said, "Ku, is the tip of your tongue also hurt?" "Yes." Yan Jika's eyes flickered. "Let me help you," Lu Qing murmured. He pulled the girl over and held her in his arms. Then he let go of her wrist and hugged her shoulder. He lowered his head and kissed her on her tender lips. Yan Jika gently patted his shoulders with her hands, then closed her eyes and put her hands on his shoulders. At this moment, there was a sudden knock on the door of the locker room. Knock knock knock. Knock knock knock. Yan Jika seemed to have come to her senses. She pushed Lu Qing away, lowered her head, gasped, and quickly tidied her clothes. Lu Cheng was very annoyed and unhappy. He controlled his tone and asked in a low voice, "Who is it?" Knocking on the door at this time would incur the wrath of heaven. Outside the locker room, a pleasant female voice came in. "Lu Cheng, I'm Shu Rui, a reporter from Songqing TV station. Is it convenient for you to accept an interview?" Not convenient. Lu Cheng wanted to answer like this, but considering the repeated warnings of the school's publicity department and the fact that he and Yen Jika had just done something bad and were blocked in the locker room, he took a deep breath and said, "Then wait for a few minutes." He had to wait for a few minutes because his martial arts pants were too loose. Once it was pushed up, his outline would be obvious. His lower body was so distinct and outstanding now. If he walked out like this, he might lose face in front of tens of millions of people in Songqing and fans in his own forum. Then he might as well buy a piece of tofu and kill himself. "Okay." Shu Rui held back her impatience and answered. How could Lu Cheng be so slow? How long has it been? What on earth is he doing in the locker room? Wait a minute, his beautiful girlfriend didn't seem to come out. Lu Cheng calmed down and visualized the condensation stance. But his lower body was still stubborn and didn't give him any face. "I can only take a cold shower." He gritted his teeth and rushed to the bathroom cubicle with the tent. He quickly took off his clothes and turned on the tap. Yen Jika, who was sitting on the bench, peeked at all this. She laughed so hard that she couldn't stand straight. She gently beat the space beside her and whispered shyly and happily, "You asked for it, you asked for it." At the same time, a sentence flashed in her mind from the internet, "Who told you to be reckless?" After the cold shower and the tent, Lu Cheng put on his clothes and glanced at Yen Jika. He opened the door of the locker room and walked out. Clang! "Close the door behind you, good boy." Shu Rui held back her laughter and said, "Sorry to disturb you. The match over there is more than half done. I have to finish the interview as soon as possible." "Humph, I'm also a college girl with a boyfriend. How could I not know what you are doing?" "You don't have to be so polite. Just ask." What was done couldn't be undone. Lu Cheng's anger could only turn into deep helplessness. Shu Rui was secretly happy as if she had caught someone's weakness. She smiled and said, "Lu Cheng, the 2 punches you used to hit Mo Zizong today seem to be very special. It was different from all the martial arts you have used before. Is it a new trump card?" "Yes." Lu Cheng answered frankly. Anyone who had watched the match carefully would have noticed this. He had nothing to hide. Shu Rui nodded with satisfaction and continued to ask, "When I interviewed Mo Zizong, I found that he was still swaying and his face was blue. It seemed that he was hurt by a strong cold. Does this mean that you have mastered a unique skill of the ice sect?" "Not really. I've just mastered it." Lu Cheng wasn't being modest. He was telling the truth. The real frost force could freeze Mo Zizong with just 1 punch, and cause his body to be covered with white frost for a short time. His mastery of Thunder Roar Zen and Frost Force was too fast, and his mastery was still limited to a superficial level, which was not comparable to 24 blizzard strikes. Look! Look! His answer was so honest. If he did, he did. If he didn't, he didn't. Compared to Lu Cheng, Shu Rui suddenly had the impulse to clench her fists and cry. She looked at Lu Cheng with gratitude, which made him feel confused. As far as I know, even in the Danchi state, there are many shortcomings in the similar force. If you want to master it in the body refining state and make such a strong cold, you must have a corresponding supernatural ability or special talent, right? Shu Rui followed this topic and asked again. Lu Cheng smiled and said, "Can I choose to keep it a secret? Let others guess what's going on with me." Shu Rui was so moved that she wanted to cry. Look at him, he was so polite about keeping it a secret. "Of course you can." She answered with a faint smile and then changed the topic to interview other things. It didn't take long for the interview to end. Lu Cheng immediately waved his hand and ran into the locker room without looking back. Clang! Hearing the door of the locker room close, Shu Rui was stunned. She couldn't help but take back her handbag from the cameraman. She took out a small mirror and carefully looked at her own face. Is it because I've been staying up too late recently that my appearance has deteriorated a lot? Otherwise, why does one run away like he's hiding from a monster without saying anything unnecessary, and the other one has no tender feelings for the fairer sex? He's always expressionless. If he can use 2 words, he won't say more than 3. He often blocks her mouth with 1 sentence. As an outstanding beauty, Shu Rui could feel the kindness of society from time to time since her eyebrows and eyes grew. It didn't matter if she only bought a standing ticket on the train. Most of the time, there would be good Samaritans who would give up their seats. It didn't matter if she forgot to bring some change. The success rate of borrowing money from others was quite high, nothing changed. Shu Rui looked at it repeatedly and made a conclusion. In the blink of an eye, she left the martial arts stadium with the cameraman in a hurry. In the locker room, Lu Qing saw that Yan Jika had already packed up and was waiting for him. You're going back now? He was a little expectant. Yan Jika glanced at him and suddenly said softly, "You're so tired. You'd better go back and sleep for a while." You can tell? Lu Qing thought that he had successfully concealed it. It was really tiring to use Frost Force twice when he wasn't familiar with it. Of course, I'm a famous detective. Yan Jika smiled and walked to Lu Qing. She raised her arms, stretched out her hands and gently massaged his temples a few times. While Lu Qing was enjoying the relief of the swelling pain, the girl suddenly tiptoed and gave him a quick peck on the mouth with her pink lips. Then Yan Jika turned around and put her hands behind her back. She pretended to be normal and said, "Let's go." Okay. Lu Qing unconsciously showed a smile. Back in the dormitory, Lu Qing was about to walk to the small bedroom when he suddenly heard the sound of someone rushing up the stairs. The footsteps were so familiar that he subconsciously stopped and waited. Soon, the door opened. Talker, Kai Zongming, walked in briskly, humming a little song. "Casanova, you just came back?" Lu Qing asked with a little surprise and a smile. He and Ku had been delayed for so long. Little Ming, who had left the martial arts stadium after the competition, actually came back after him. Where did he run off to? Kai Zongming laughed and said, "Qing, I have a good news and a bad news." Which one do you want to hear first? The bad news. Lu Qing answered indifferently. Seeing that Talker couldn't hide his joy, the bad news couldn't be too bad. Kai Zongming laughed and said, "Today I saw you beat a strong professional 9th pin fighter in the martial arts stadium with only 2 punches. I was so excited that I couldn't calm down. After the competition, I ran to the lake to do my stance training. This is good news, right? You really don't work hard without being excited." Lu Qing imitated Kai Zongming's tone and laughed. When did I not work hard? I was ravaged by the gorilla several times every day. Do you think it's easy for me? Kai Zongming retorted as if he couldn't bear to recall the past. Okay. You work hard. Lu Qing deliberately answered perfunctorily. What's the good news? Good news? Kai Zongming suddenly raised his voice. I succeeded in meditation just now. Ha ha ha, I'm really a genius. He imitated a comic character and laughed. Lu Qing was pleasantly surprised. He walked half a circle around Kai Zongming and said, I didn't see it. You entered meditation just like that? What do you mean just like that? Kai Zongming laughed and said, a freak like you won't understand the bitterness of my months of hard work before I succeeded in meditation. No wonder he's the talker who was mentioned by his master as having some talent. When he gets serious, he's still very powerful. Lu Qing was secretly happy for his friend, but he attacked him verbally. If you had the awareness during this period of time, you would have succeeded in meditation before the winter vacation. Kai Zongming didn't mind at all. He laughed and said, Qing, a bunch of idioms are flashing in my mind. Which ones? Lu Qing asked curiously. Kai Zhongming coughed and said, amaze the world with a single brilliant feat, soar to the sky, like a fish leaping over the dragon gate, like an ignorant person. A scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. How can a golden fish be a fish in a pond? Lu Qing replied. As the 4th person in the martial arts club to master meditation, before the end of this semester, I will strive for the amateur 3rd pin, and at least the amateur 2nd pin when the next semester starts. Kai Zhongming thought in high spirits. He ignored Lu Qing, took out his phone, and rushed to the balcony to tell his girlfriend the good news. Good. Looking at his back, Lu Qing smiled from the bottom of his heart. I'm getting better, and so are my friends. How delightful. In next year's university martial arts competition, Talker might even be able to compete for the reserve seat. Back in the small dormitory, Lu Qing took off his clothes and lay on the bed. He chatted with Yan Zhika for a while and was about to take a nap when suddenly a message popped up from the other side of the cloud. This was the QQ nickname of his aunt's eldest daughter, Qi Yunfei. Brother Lu Qing, are you there? Asked the other side of the cloud. Lu Qing replied with a smiley face, what's up, Feifei? He often chatted with his cousins on QQ, and also had a group for his brothers and sisters. Brother Lu Qing, I heard from my aunt that you joined the martial arts club in Songqing University, and you're pretty good at it? Qi Yunfei asked with a lively face. Pfft, Mom's mouth. Lu Qing couldn't help but laugh. He criticized in his heart and humbly replied, it's okay. Mom didn't seem to like him practicing martial arts, and she even bragged about it to his cousins. Qi Yunfei said weakly, I have something to ask you, Brother Lu Qing. Ask? So formal. Lu Qing was stunned and replied generously, go ahead. My boyfriend doesn't want to enter high school. He wants to go to the martial arts club to learn martial arts. Brother Lu Qing, what do you think? Qi Yunfei said. What do you think? Lu Qing considered his tone and replied, it depends on whether he really likes it or just wants to avoid studying. Even if he really likes it, it depends on whether he has the perseverance and persistence. If he can do it, learning martial arts is also a good way out. As for talent, as long as he was ordinary, there was still hope for him to reach the amateur 1st pin. At that time, it wouldn't be difficult to find a middle upper level job in Shushan and Ningxue. Qi Yunfei was silent for a while and said, he really likes it, but I can't tell whether he has the perseverance and persistence. I'm afraid he will be cheated by those unreliable martial arts clubs. Which martial arts club does he want to go to? Tell me, I'll ask someone to find out. Lu Qing replied casually. He felt that he had some connections in the Shushan martial arts circle. Qin Rui's Gushan martial arts club was one of the best in Shushan. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.